Hello, America. Welcome to the Junto Podcast, where we promote the practical applications of critical thinking and bold creativity. I'm your host, Edgar Mills. Thank you for joining us. Hello, America. Welcome to episode 63. Yep, 63, going strong. Appreciate all of you for listening. I really do. So what are we talking about today? Today, we're talking about basic politeness and good manners. Those two things once were the lubricant of our daily interactions. That's what kept things going smooth, eased the friction with the other humans. Good manners, basic politeness. And it seems, and I could be wrong, this could just be my observations, and probably social media has a lot to do with it, but it seems that these things are, in short supply these days, especially like formal manners, never mind just basic manners. And it also almost, this is definitely because of social media, but it almost seems like people are looking for friction these days. So, yeah. And look, I'm not mourning the loss of some bygone golden era where everybody was kind and polite and all that. I mean, a little bit, but I don't think it's lost completely. What we're going to try to do today, what I'm trying to do today, is kind of diagnose where these manners begin to slip away and how we can sort of get it back across all the generations that are still walking the earth today, how we can get it back. And just a little anecdotal thing, I can tell you now, every now and again, I'll have the opportunity to hold the door open for like an elderly person. And elderly people seem to be very appreciative of outward display of good manners as compared to young people. You hold a door open for a young person, they don't give you a glance, they don't look at it and say anything, they go in as though that was the way it was supposed to be. So, I don't know, kind of weird, but. So yeah, hopefully today we can come to some sort of, understanding, some kind of practical path back to some semblance of basic human dignity and basic human kindness with each other. And I'm not outwardly a really happy-go-lucky guy, which may seem like I don't have good manners, but I do. I always say the cursory thank you or please or you're welcome, or if I'm dealing with someone older than me, yes sir, or no sir. I always do that. Whether I'm smiling about it or not, it's irrelevant. All right, I target these people a lot, but here we go. The baby boomers, they absorbed a lot of their good manners through, at the kitchen table, right? That back in those days, everyone still had dinner at the dinner table, and then they had a lot of overly formal type jobs. But I don't know if it was the type of job or if it was just the time that they were in. But in that post-World War II prosperity, that was, the firm handshake kind of had a little meaning to it. Or yes, sir, or no, sir. Or, everybody kind of still back in those days would give their neighbor a wave. And then, and in some neighborhoods in rural areas, I guess it's sort of like that. Maybe some suburban areas, but I suspect, and from what I see around the metro Atlanta, like you might be living next door to someone in a cookie cutter neighborhood, never interact with them whatsoever, never know their name, never know anything about them. It could be that way. So the baby boomers, they come up with the manners, right? And they grew up with the manners. But what happened? Where did it start to go south? Well, the baby boom also gave us all these leftist activists and protesters and agitators, the anti-war hippies, which weren't hippies at all. Well, I think there was more of a fashion statement there, and the anti-war thing was just generated. Look, the Vietnam War was bad. We know it was bad, and we knew it was bad then, but I think the anti-war protesters was sort of a symptom of something else. Because what did those baby boomers also those specific, that group, they weren't just protesting Vietnam War. They were protesting the system, their easy upbringing. And this is, I think, the first glimpse we get to see of this white guilt, or this privilege that they feel embarrassed or ashamed of. So I think we started to see it there. So good manners to these protesters became like a conformity. So I believe that's the beginning of it. And I blame a lot of today's problems on the baby boomer generation, because they're the ones who are in Congress right now, by the way. So, and then came Generation X, my generation. And we were raised on independence, or if, depending on your perspective, neglect, and MTV. Yeah, and those of you who've known me for a while, you know that I also say MTV was the downfall of modern society, and to a degree it is. But so in this generation, Generation X, this emerging sort of culture of self-reliance, or just do it yourself, or I'll figure it out on my own type, we kind of, well, I don't know, we like literally shrugged off sort of traditional and formal good manners. And that whatever shrug is what it's become known as. That kind of stuck, man. And that kind of stuck. It became the default. And also called the whatever shrug, also call that the 10th group salute. Then came the millennials. Yeah, the millennials. So they are the first true, like, well, their world was shaped by the smartphone. Gen X was not. The smartphone came later, and we were like, oh, well, that's crazy. Yeah, the millennials, their world was shaped by the smartphone. They weren't yet all completely 100% digital, but they very much were heading that way. And then the jobs, right? They started doing non-traditional. That's when tech jobs started coming along, and they started doing these weird sort of gig jobs where you may not have had to sit in front of a table full of humans or go sell a product. So good manners weren't a default at work necessarily. You want to be a quiet, isolated genius. Go ahead, do your thing. Nobody cared. So their default, well, the interactions, right? The more digital interactions there are, and the less real human interactions. Nobody cares about calling Mike Tyson a chump online, right? But in face to face, would you ever call Mike Tyson a chump? No, you wouldn't, because you'd catch a gigantic fist to the face, right? So now, normal daily interactions to these millennials starts to look like, it starts to seem a little, well, I don't want to say risky, but like, it's safe just not to interact. It's uncomfortable to interact with other people, so they just don't. So their default became neutral. No manners at all. Not good, not bad, not otherwise. Just blank stare. And that's how we got the millennial stare. Yeah, have you ever gone into a coffee shop with a millennial working behind, and you walk up and you stand there and they look at you and you look at them, waiting for the cursory, hey, how's it going? Can I help you? What can I get for you today? Instead, they just go, the millennial stare. They don't know how to interact with human beings. I'm not saying everybody, and this is not obviously everyone in every generation, right? Just some examples. The millennial stare. It's pretty funny. My son talked about that a little bit. Gen Z, though, was the first generation fully formed by algorithms and digits. Yep. 100% fully formed by algorithms and digits. Everything born on the screen. And what they learned is that controversy or outrage or snarky little quips gets more clicks than goodwill, than good manners do. And that's all that matters now, is how many clicks and how many whatever. Influencers. Everybody's an influencer. So it's all about the clicks. No manners necessary. Good manners don't get clicks. Yeah. So screens have become our primary interaction. I'm interacting with a screen right now. And then you guys are going to hear me on some speakers through your computer or your smartphone. So there's no real need for good manners. I suppose if I'm an asshole, though, you won't listen to me anymore, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how that affects in the podcast business. So now all these things we have, now we can interact. We can almost exclusively interact without any need to contact another human being physically, to be in the same space. And that, along with, still there's economic pressure going on. Gas right now is, nearly $4 a gallon around here. It's insane. So there's some economic pressure still going on. And then we got all this cultural noise, whether it's artificial or natural. We have all the division going on, and the division is madness. Immigrants, this, and racial that, and left versus right, this and that, and Epstein files. And I don't know if you guys have noticed going around Twitter in the past day or two is Hunter Biden sex tapes with him and his big old schlong all over the damn Twitter. So that's pervasive in our world, right? So all of that noise has sort of taught us to preserve ourselves and conserve energy. And so real interactions with real people starts to look like some energy that we can't spare. I don't, right? I can't bring myself to muster up enough energy to go and interact with this person in person. But just this right here will do the trick, just over the digits, easy enough. It's crazy. So outward efforts of courtesy, outward efforts of good manners start to look like a waste of energy that we don't have it. That's what it looks like. But we do, though. It doesn't take any energy. In fact, it probably takes less energy to give a person a kind word in person than it does on the digits. Is all this sounding morose? I mean, maybe. I'm not meaning to be. And then on top of all that, we have all this modern theater and political theater and all this artificial wokeness and all this virtue signaling and political extremisms and all this shit. Well, it inhibits our willingness just to show good manners to someone. Because now, a simple interaction, simple decency with another person, there's always got to be some ideological purity test. If you hold a door for someone, hey, if I hold a door for a professional woman, she might see it as being condescending. Yeah. And that's not a controversial thing. It's like, hold the door. I hold the door for anyone. If I approach a door at the same time as anyone, I don't care if it's a young boy, a grown man my age or younger, big, small, woman, elderly, I'm going to hold the door. That's just it. It's a courtesy. But now it might be looked at as being condescending. If I, heaven forbid, I compliment someone, well, let's say a female again, because I'm a male, right? If I compliment a female and say, wow, you look really nice today, or just you look really nice. Maybe I've never seen. So is it out of the way to compliment someone you've never seen before? I don't know. Maybe there's probably a good way to do it and then a bad way to do it. But what if it's a woman you work with every day and you come in, wow, Kelly, you look really nice today. Oh, thank you. Or this motherfucker, like now it looks like there's some kind of, I don't know, ulterior motives perhaps, or maybe it just seemed offensive. I don't know. So, and then today, what's pervasive out there politically is the identity politics. So now with the identity politics, we do everywhere. You're scanning every stranger for some ideological purity or some outward sign of their clique, their set, their tribal marker, so that we can determine whether or not even to say hello or just ignore them indignantly. Like if I got my red MAGA hat on, right? Of course, no one on the left is going to be like, oh, hey, I'll open the door for you. They're going to sneer at you, right? And maybe vice versa. your good old boy walking down the street, start to open the door, and a young girl that looks like my daughter with shaved head and piercings all over and tattoos. He just opens the door and walks in and cuts her off because he thinks she's a little lefty weirdo or whatnot. That's what's going on out there. It is going on. There are plenty of examples. You can see it. Now, look, there's not chaos out on the streets of Rome or Atlanta. I do see little acts but I see more acts of dismissiveness than I do of courtesy or good manners. I will see people open the door, walk in, and let it go without even holding it open. And then some 80-year-old guy and his wife, and he's reaching, I see that all the time. So even if it's just dismissive, it's bad manners. Or I hate to see people drop shit on the ground, especially people who smoke. Hey, if you're listening to this and you drive your car with the window down and you smoke and then you flick your butt outside the window because you think the world is your trash can, you're an a-hole. And I'll take it up with you in private. We can talk about it. 1, yeah, that's littering. Don't matter if it's a cigarette or not. 2, in places like, I don't know, out west, Colorado, and things that have heavy drought and dry seasons, you can get a heavy fine for that because that can literally start wildfires. So anyway, yeah, I see things like that a lot. And I'm like, wow, what the fuck, man? And I'll mean mug them through the window. I'm not going to get in a fight over that, but sometimes I'd like to. Sometimes I'll just get out and go stomp someone. It's good manners not to get out and go stomp someone. So now you got the identity politics, and it's causing people to selectively use their kindness because they don't want to be kind to the wrong people. Yeah. I thought this when I was young because my dad was very much a blue collar guy. And there seemed to be like this universal sort of pact amongst the working man, right? You go easy because that guy's struggling just like you are. That's in your mind. You're like, yeah, man, just a working stiff. You get a free, not a free pass, but yeah, let the guy in, you know what I mean? Or whatever. Because you knew that yeah, he's out there struggling. If he's got, especially my dad worked for the city of Atlanta. And so if they had the city of Atlanta resurgence patch on their shoulder and some dirty ass work boots, you knew that dude was struggling. Yeah, man. So it's just become easier just to either ignore, stay silent, or just retreat. And all these little small gestures, these simple little courtesies have begun to fade away, man. And look, I talk about racial stuff a lot. And why is that? I mean, I don't know why that is. I think it's the way and where I grew up. But, Atlanta's majority black, but I mean, Georgia itself is a significant black population. But working class neighborhoods, man, black dudes and white dudes are punching the same time card, I've done many a temp job working factories. Color is irrelevant when you need a job. And it sucks just the same. Your back hurts just as bad as his, and his just as bad as yours. Grocery bills are still expensive, regardless if it's you or him buying them. So I hate to see bad manners show up when it comes to cultural and racial divide, because that is just one simple thing that would have a great impact, I believe, on easing up those cultural and racial divides, I think. But yeah, I'm going to go back to the big evils, media and politics. They kind of conspire to keep the divide in place because, yeah, it keeps the conflict fresh on the front burner so that we don't have to look at the real issues, the deeper issues, economic issues, civil rights issues, real civil rights issues. When the media or politics, when they frame every little workplace friction or every little traffic slight as some kind of racial war. Yeah, it just perpetuates the problem, and the trust amongst your neighbors disappears when it doesn't need to, People stop giving the nod or the wave. Stop letting people get over. When you see somebody with a blinker, you speed up to close up the gap. That's effort. It takes effort to do that, by the way, to speed up to close that gap. Why would you do that? If you weren't paying attention enough to let that gap happen and somebody gets in it, then you just have some good manners and just let it be. And the irony is, especially with the black and white situation, working class, because I'm not going to, for the rest of this, I'm not going to differentiate black and white, working class, is that that's the irony, is that you have so much more in common with the other working class guy, regardless of his color, than you do with any of the media pundits, the perfect hair, or the social media influencers, making $20,000 a month on YouTube somehow or whatnot. You don't have anything in common with those people. You've got everything in common with the dude that lives in your neighborhood, who you see him every morning on the same route going to work, same route coming home from work. So one good way to get back to good manners, because it is it's an act of effort, but it's just not much effort. That's all. It doesn't require much effort. But to remember that our common ground with the other human beings is a real easy way to make that effort easier. To remember that you do have the common ground. You have nothing in common with Hunter Biden, unless you have a giant penis, I guess, and do crack. But the dude pulling out of your neighborhood, going to work every morning, he probably got plenty in common with him. Manners, good people, listen to this and listen real good. Manners are not shallow. They define you. Yep, they define you. And if you don't use them at all, ever, that's how you will be viewed and remembered. So they're not as shallow as they seem, but the fact of the matter is, they are small, simplistic, minimal effort inputs, outward displays of, your character. And those good manners that you use and interact with the other human beings are just a small daily confirmation, a little daily piece of proof that you see the cashier or the waitress or your coworker or some stranger on the street as fully human, and worthy of some basic human respect. That's what good manners are. Yeah. They may seem like surface level gestures, and they are, but they're not disingenuous. And that's how simple they are. If you simply do it, it's not disingenuous. Now, you can have some artificial manners if you're trying to kiss butt with an executive at your work or something, but good manners given artificially, they come off immediately like that. They come off as shallow. But generally speaking, for the regular public, if you make the effort, it is genuine. It don't have to be some crazy. You don't have to shine the guy's shoes as he walks through the door. I mean, it's just surface level. A simple thank you or I appreciate you. Oh my God, man. That's a simple act of humanity. No deeper philosophical reasons required. Yeah, no hidden agenda required. And here's the secret genius on all that, is that it'll improve the day of the person you're being kind to, for sure. But it also feels good in your own bones. It will improve you. Yeah, that's right. It'll improve you as well. Because if you hold a door and you get a genuine smile back, it feels good. It might not be able to carry you through the day, but man, it feels pretty good. Or someone, You hold the door and somebody actually says thank you, feels good. Yeah, feels good. Or if you let somebody in and then they roll their window down and throw their hand out and wave frantically, feels good. Feels good. You just brighten somebody's day, if only for a little bit, if only for a second. Feels good. And all the digits, all the algorithms, and all the screens will not replace those kind of feelings. Those are real. Those are genuine human feelings. Can't be replaced with algorithms. Can't be replaced. And by doing these little things, you can, well, walk a little taller. You know what I mean? You feel a little bit better about the person that you just chose to be in that moment. You guys know I always quote Ayn Rand. I love Ayn Rand. I think she was a philosophical genius. And you know, she was a staunch advocate of rational self-interest. Well, she understood this better than any moralist or altruistic person ever has. Rational self-interest, rightly applied, is not at all selfishness. Certainly not petty selfishness. Rational self-interest is a very clear-eyed recognition that your long-term, and short-term well-being depends on the quality of the environment that you occupy, the quality of the environment that you interact in and you contribute to. So being well-mannered towards other people is not altruistic. It's not because Jesus said so. It's, it's a little bit of an enlightened perspective of self-interest. I help you because it helps me. So that sounds selfish, right? But you're being helped. And by helping you, I'm helping myself. Maybe not directly, maybe 3 or 4 times removed, you know. You treat other people with the dignity that you want to cultivate in your community. Because if you do, then they're more likely to treat others the way you treat them. So for instance, I don't know, a tradesman, your local carpenter, you know, if he consistently shows fairness and a little bit of human class, right? Good customer service, and he does quality work, and he's honest, and his reputation precedes him. That creates an environment that people like to be a part of and feel like, well, I've got to step up my game. Or yeah, I keep saying this one, but if a driver letting someone else merge, man, I mean, it's such a small gesture. It's such a small gesture. But if you let somebody merge, guess what? They are more apt to let someone else merge later on down the way. Yep. It's the same concept. I know I bring up my friend Trail Trash Dirtbag every now and again, but he picks up trash along the trail, and he doesn't go out to pick up trash. He goes out to run or to cycle. But when he sees trash, he stops and he picks it up. And I think he saw a study or something, or at least it's his philosophy, that if somebody sees you do that, then they are something like, I can't remember, 80% more apt to stop and pick up trash on their movements, whether it's on the trail or wherever, on the sidewalk and whatnot. Yeah, you have an effect on other people. You cultivate the community you want to be a part of by doing that. Unless you just want to be a part of a bunch of a-hole communities or a community of a bunch of a-holes. And then, speaking of rational self-interest, and notice that is not selfishness. Again, folks, we can go into this nuance on another, we'll go into it. But if you show a little casual kindness to a stranger or whatever, or you're just patient with someone trying to get it out, whatever, they can't quite put their words together, or they're stumbling, whatever, that might land on someone who opens doors for you down the road. And I don't mean literal doors. I mean like opportunity. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe a job lead or a contact, somebody knows somebody who's in your field, etc. or even just, they remember you in the right moment when you need a favor. So rational self-interest lived daily, and I mean lived, turns good manners, which costs you nothing, into a very smart investment in people. Yeah. Now, good manners in our society are not a foregone loss. I'm not saying that we're doomed. The apocalypse is around the corner. I mean, it may be, but there's some people out there, right? And there's different segments of society that practice good manners on a regular basis. And I'm talking about working class here, though, mainly. But we can and should rebuild a culture of where it's commonplace. A simple wave, a yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, firm handshake, hold the door, get the chair. I'll tell you one that I make it a point to practice, is that if I'm sitting down somewhere and someone walks up to shake my hand, I stand up and I shake their hand. Or if I'm with a group of elders and we go to have coffee, I allow them to sit down before I sit down. Where do I get that stuff from? Hell, I don't know. I just know that it's good manners. When I sit down and have food, I take my hat off my head and put it in my lap. Is that overly formal? I don't know. I'm not an overly formal guy. But I was taught good manners at some point along the way by various people. And those things have stuck with me. A little round Italian man named Leo who had forearms the size of my friggin' thighs, and he looked like he was like 5'5", and he, bald. He was like a character in a Godfather movie or something. Taught me that you will shake a man's hand and you will give that man a firm handshake. That is it. Anything else, that you're not a man. People will not take you seriously. And not squeeze the guy's hand off, but you got to give a firm handshake. That's good manners. That's one way you can trust to a degree. Now, a little side note on that. I once shook the hand of Lindsey Graham, the senator from South Carolina. And it was like a dead fish, clammy, soft. Oh my God, it was disturbing. It was very disturbing. Yeah, it was very disturbing. Where am I at, man? Golly. The other day, my daughter and I were discussing, manners and such, and her friend had gone down to visit with her grandmother. They live about an hour south of us, and she'd gone down to visit, and Nana had made, little snackies and whatnot. And then, not the next day, but the day after, or the 2 days later, my daughter sends Nana like a thank you note. Hey, Nana, thanks for having us. We had a really great time. Love you. Always fun spending time. See you soon. That was it. Man, how much impact do you think that had on Nana? I mean, think about that, man. A simple gesture that took my daughter probably 15 seconds to write, probably had a profound impact on her grandmother. Yeah, little thank you note, Hell, go get a Hallmark card if the spirit moves you. Yeah. Thanks for your efforts. I appreciate you. That's it. Nothing big. And that right there, folks, is what you call class. I don't care how much money you have or what kind of car you drive. That is classy. That is classy. What else? If you're at work, you might not be best buddies with everybody in your job, but, every now and again, throw a kind word up to somebody who you wouldn't normally, Hey, solid work today. Thanks for picking up the slack. Good job. Simple. And what do you think, man? Are they going to go home and analyze that for weeks? Like, what did he mean by that? No, some people will, because now we're in a neurotic society where people don't take things for face value. They got to read into it. Or they got to go look it up on the digits on the computer. What did he mean? What did he mean? Yeah. Hey, solid work today. Good job. That's one way to make your daily life just a little different, a little better. Hold a door. I've said this 8 million times already, especially for the elderly, or especially for a mother toting around a couple of toddlers and an infant, scurrying around to do her chores while her husband's at work. And she's got a handful. And she's bumbling her way up to the door, and you're getting ready to walk in. Open the damn door. Hold it. Give her a smile. And then, good luck. Whatever. Yeah, hold the door. Without expectation, by the way, folks. If you don't get a thank you, that don't mean never open the door for someone else again. No. Hey, don't do it with an expectation. Otherwise, maybe it's not genuine. Don't do it with an expectation. Now, look, there's one rule here that I learned when I worked construction with my cousin Barry. The man carrying the load gets the right of way. And I apply that everywhere. If I'm on the city street getting ready to walk into a building and someone's carrying a box of files or a big ass briefcase and a purse in one hand, a briefcase, and open the door for them. They have the right of way. They're carrying more stuff than you. That's just that's simple. But even on a job site, if you're overloaded and then some dude, let the guy with the load go first. Give him space. That's common good manners in action right there. Again, man, try it one day. Do an experiment when you're in your daily commute. Try letting a couple people over. You ain't got to open up the gap and then let everybody and their brother squeeze in, and now you're 3 miles back from where you started. You don't have to do that. I'm not telling you to be ridiculous about it. I'm saying if it presents itself, sometimes people are a-holes and they hit the right lane and speed up and then try to get over before the lane runs out. And then sometimes you got somebody who's just completely clueless to the ways of Atlanta traffic. Let them in, man. Do an experiment. Do it. Spend 1 week letting people in. Time your commute compared to your normal, right? See how much time that costs you. I think you'll find out that probably it costs you about nothing. And then you've allowed somebody else to un-F themselves. That's a good one, though. Here's one. And I'm horrible with it, and I'm trying to be better about it, but here it is. Remember names. Remember someone's name and use their name. Yeah. Very bad with names. And I don't know if the military would make you better or worse with that, but I've met so many people. I know so many guys with the same exact name. I know so many dudes who look like some other dude. I've been in units with guys all around the world and then bump into them again. And then there's just so many. So I've always been very bad with names, man. I never forget a face, and I'm proud of that. But that don't carry the same remembering someone just in general, I think they appreciate it. But remembering their name, that means they take up a little bit of space in your memory bank there. And that makes them feel like they're maybe a little bit important. Or at least important enough to register. Yeah, man. Use names. Yeah. What else? What's another good one? Well, here's one, and I do this periodically when I can. Offer unsolicited help with a heavy lift. Now, here's a little example. If you work in a warehouse, just sliding a jack over so dude can get to it, but grab the other end of the tough box without some dude asking. When you see some dude getting ready to wide arm a tough box that probably weighs 130 pounds, just get on the other side and I got it, bro. Let's do it. Again, it ain't going to cost you much time at all. Help him throw that tough box up on the truck and that's it. Thanks, man. Right on. Boom, done. It's easy peasy. Now, this might be a bridge too far for some of you, but hey, man, if you see some dude pushing a hoopty through an intersection in front of a gas station, trying to get out of traffic, throw your car in park, turn the key off, and go help that joker push the car. It ain't gonna hurt you. It'll help him get that job done that he's embarrassed and out there struggling. So just help, man. Just help him push the truck or the car out up into the gas station or whatever, man. Or if you see somebody with a flat. Now look, I did this the other day, and again, I say you worry about how it looks when you go to help somebody. But I saw a young lady at a gas station with her car up on a little scissor jack, but she was on like a sort of an incline, well, a decline, and it looked sketchy. And there was another lady standing out there with her, and they were kind of, and there was some kids running around. So I pulled up. I was like, "Hey, can I help you?" No, it's okay. We got it. And I was like, "Yeah, you know what? It's not a big deal." And I got out. Hell, well, it ended up that I ended up having to run to my house to get my impact wrench and come back. But still, it's irrelevant. The point is, they they were trying to solve the problem themselves, and good on them, man. But it was friggin' blazing hot outside. There was a couple kids running around, and the some of the lugs on the tire were stripped. So that was a problem. I helped them with that problem. That's all. Made life a little bit easier. Yeah, help somebody with it. If it's a dude, and this might sound a little sexist, but if it's a dude, chances are I ain't gonna get out and help change their tire. And why with a lady, Edgar? Why? I mean, I don't know, man. That maybe that's some old school stuff there. But if it's an old couple, an old man, yeah, I'll get out. Possibly even, I don't know. I don't know. I kind of assess, like, do these people look like they got it squared away, right? Because just the other day I went past a couple who had a flat tire in a similar situation, and as I drove by, I slowed down, looked, and they looked like they had everything square. So I was like, okay, they don't need me. Anyway, point is, it's good manners. And if you see kids in the mix, jump out and help, man. Dang. What else? What's something else that's considered good manners? Well, leave the goddamn break room or any room cleaner than the way you find it. That's good manners. Don't come into a spot, and even if it's messy, don't come into a spot, utilize the spot, and then not make an effort, one, to clean up your own mess, but two, like maybe make it just a little nicer than before you walked in. That's good manners. Absolutely it is. And it's definitely bad manners to leave it worse than you found it. That little bit of stewardship for whatever space that is, that says a lot, man, about your character. Especially at like an auto shop, you know what I'm saying, where everybody goes and gojos their hands in the sink and just leaves it a friggin' wreck. Man, just wipe the sink down when you're done. Simple. It's very simple, and it's an easy way to display some small outward display of your character, even if it's just for yourself. Maybe nobody noticed you went in, nobody noticed you came out. For yourself, because you can then feel good about yourself. What else? What else is some generic good manners? Well, making eye contact. And Gen Zers or Gen millennials and Gen Zers, hear this. Make eye contact. If you're at a restaurant or whatever, I don't care if it's a McDonald's. Well, they got kiosks, but if you're dealing with a human, look at that human right in their face. Yeah, and smile. Make eye contact. Hand over the payment with a smile. It don't have to be a big stupid grin. Just not a frown, right? Just not threatening. Yeah. Make eye contact when you're talking with someone. Now you'll glance away. Yeah. And if I'm talking with my homie out on the sidewalk, right, in the city, yeah, I'll look at him. Hey, well, what's up, bro? And, I'll be looking around when I'm chatting. I'll look back at him, make sure we're on the same. Yeah, but yeah, also I'm looking around, sure enough. But yeah, making eye contact matters. Windows to the soul, man. Look, these things I just talked about, these are not big grand gestures that they don't require money. They don't require very much effort at all. And there are opportunities all day, every day to use good manners. They pop up everywhere, almost everywhere you go. Even on the phone, you have an opportunity to be a little more kind. And all these things I just said, these simple things, they represent very simple, regular guy ways to build goodwill amongst the humans. And they provide the general public with visible proof that you, as a human being, you take your humanity seriously and you have regard for their humanity. Yeah. And if you do this, and if you practice good manners deliberately on a daily basis, you will see your environment begin to change. You'll see it because people respond in kind. So your circle anyway will lighten up a little bit. Yeah. So think on these things, folks. Think on these things. This is what I want to talk about. I didn't want to go dark. I wanted something easy breezy, sort of positive. But if you want better conversations in your life, if you want better neighbors, if you want your daily life to be just a little bit better, good manners are the best investment you can make. And it is an investment because you do have to invest something. It shows class, and you can develop that in yourself. You don't have to be David Niven, but you can develop a little class within yourself. And you can live this way. And if you can live this consistently and have good manners consistently without any expectation, you will 100% improve the world around you. That's what I had for today. Yep. Easy breezy. Wasn't dark. Wasn't too dark. It was pretty easy breezy. Tell me what you think about that. This ain't a cutting edge topic. I know it's not. It's not cutting edge. It's not trending probably on any social platform whatsoever, but it's meaningful. Yeah, it's meaningful. Man, let's add a little bit of meaningful interaction back into our lives. All right, good people. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you all. Our listenership is growing, our downloads and all that stuff. And I'm still not doing video. These video clips are just little bites. I'm still not doing video. I want to wait till I have a more presentable environment. Well, what do we got? We got June. So this coming up Saturday, we have Libertarian Party of Georgia Range Day. That's on Saturday, the 13th. And on 14th, we have a pistol workshop. So Sunday. So get in that. And then next week, I think we have, is next week, the, drawing a blank, Sons of Liberty 2-gun match. Golly. Sons of Liberty 2-gun match. So yeah, get in that. Check them out. Come out, have some fun. We're scheduling. We do have plenty of space for private sessions coming up in July. Don't have a lot scheduled at all for July. And I know it's hot, but we have space. Excuse me, we have space. Check out twoteamguys.com. Yep. And please givesendgo.com/help-a-homie-fund. That is our charitable efforts. That is our way to solicit donations so that we can distribute those voluntarily, so that we can then distribute those throughout, right now, the Rome or Atlanta areas to people who may need whatever. And look, if you know someone who could use a little help, if their kid needs shoes and you, for whatever reason, don't feel like you should go buy shoes, hit me up and we'll go and see what we can do. If you know someone who needs a ride somewhere, I mean, we're not an Uber, but I mean, we might be able to get somebody somewhere for a job interview or something like that. Or if you know somebody who is subsisting on friggin' ramen noodles alone, we can we'll get them a bag of rice, some SpaghettiOs or something, man. Like that's where we're at right now, right? But eventually we plan to grow this into a nonprofit and try to do some great stuff. All right. So that's where we're at. Good people. Thanks again for listening. I appreciate you. Take care of each other. Use good manners with each other. I love you guys.